Start recording. Start streaming. Just like that. Just like that. Okay. Well, if this is indeed working, welcome. Welcome everyone to today's stream. You're stuck with just me today. Unfortunately, but my co-host was unable to join me today, so rather than doing, I think we were planning to do kind of a review of one of the newer episodes, where Louise and friends go look for Wharfie, the sea monster that supposedly lives just off the Wonder Wharf. But that will be later on. We'll do that some other time, maybe next week, maybe before then, who knows. So instead, what I'm going to do is just kind of hang out. I didn't really have a lot of time to think up other stuff to do on the stream. I don't know if a lot of people are going to show up today anyway. So all I'm going to do is play some Stardew. That's pretty much the plan in its entirety. I hope all my levels are okay. They look alright to me from where I'm sitting/standing. We're actually dropping fewer frames than we usually do, which is great, probably because we don't have a video call going at the same time. So that's something. That's some kind of progress. I've already got made myself an Irish coffee here, so I'll be enjoying that as we get going. And is that about it? I guess I don't really need to say too much else in terms of introing the episode. I know it is a Bob's Burgers podcast, so I'll try my best to actually talk about Bob's Burgers in some capacity or whatever, but please forgive me if this instead becomes a very casual background stream. But you know what? I'm fine with it being that. I think that sounds nice. Especially lately, I've been playing watching a lot of stuff that's just kind of, background entertainment, something that's just kind of on in the background while you go about your normal daily business. Oh no. Let me get I need to really nail the arrangement of this window here, so let me hang with me here for just a second while I get this rearranged. I haven't played Stardew for a little bit, so this is kind of exciting for me, because this particular farm I've been working on for a long time, roughly 90 hours of playtime to get this one going. Let's hop in. Captain Boy, here's my character. We're going to hop in and play the game. All right, pretty exciting stuff. Okay. Captain Boy going on adventures. I don't have too much left to do in the game at this point, but make more money and have fun, I suppose. This is my wife. This is Emily. You probably know Emily if you've played the game before. I don't know. Does this mean? Oh, that's how many heart points I have with her. I never noticed that before. There you go. House is full of flies. This is one of the children. His name is something. Garbo, maybe? I don't remember. This is the new child. Her name is Lady. And this is the kid's nursery right here. I don't know. This is just kind of a fun little indoor, almost like garden space. Kind of neat. Very fun music tiles. Okay. Let's get started on the chores. What do we got? Got a couple of iridium bars. That's pretty neat. Yeah, the little Junimo spirits are going to harvest my crops for me. But they want to. It's fine. It's fine. They don't mind. Okay. Perfect. This is great. Actually, you know what? Let me close out a couple of background programs here just to see if it helps improve performance at all. I don't know whether it will. Yeah, I'm fine with closing that program. Thank you. Thank you, computer. Gonna exit that. That's fine. Gonna exit this. Cool. Maybe that'll help slightly. I don't know. Okay. Here's where all the aminals live. I try to pet all of them every day, but sometimes it just doesn't happen, you know? It just doesn't happen. There's a little dinosaur. Okay. Did I already get this? That's enough. We've done enough of that. That's fine. What do we got? We got some eggs. Grab those real quick. I bet you can hear my computer fan running in the background. It's pretty loud, especially today for whatever reason. And I will say, I've been playing a lot of Animal Crossing lately, and it's great, and the controls are very good generally, but I do enjoy just being able to use a mouse for once. It's kind of a nice break. A little bit more accurate. Not fumbling with it as much. Okay. What do I got here? Got some milk I can throw in there. All right. This is the part where I try to improv. Oh no, I left the gate open. Did anyone get out? I don't think so. I don't think they got. Wow, how could I? What was I thinking? It's a real pain when you got to chase them back inside. That's not great. Okay, so this is the part where I try to improvise interesting talking points about Bob's Burgers to more accurately imitate the experience of recording a Bob's Burgers fan cast. Let's see. What do we got? Oh, got some ancient fruits here. That's great. Okay, let me think. Something I've been kind of, thinking about just a bit at random when watching old episodes of Bob's Burgers is we all know that Bob has that kind of habit, I guess we'll call it, of making food talk, which is great. That's fine. I think it's funny, and they've used it pretty well in the past to make some good jokes and have some funny episodes. It's great. But in true internet clickbaity fashion, I've been trying to think of. Can I get some more hay? I've been trying to come up with just a nonsense theory, fan theory about how in reality, you see, Bob is actually not making them all talk. Instead, it's a progressive demonic possession thing. You see, that's the thing. That's what's really going on. And every time that he makes that it appears that he's making a type of food talk, or a random inanimate object talk, like the turkey baster in Dawn of the Peck, that actually he's being again and again possessed by either one food demon or many demons, and that part of why he's so good at look at all that corn, that's great. And that's actually the reason behind why he's so good at just cooking in general and being a professional chef, burger chef, I guess we can call him, is because years ago, he's forgotten, of course, by this point, but years ago, he sold his soul to some kind of not so great entity. And ever since, that entity has been routinely taking over his body every once in a while. Now, the fun part of this fan theory is that, despite all the demonic possession and all that nonsense, I don't see it as being something where it necessarily has to become like a bad horror movie plot, right? On the contrary, I see this as, kind of like just a playful spirit. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think of, I don't know much about mythology. I guess in the Norse tradition, you have what? I mean, Loki, right, is, of course, now we all know, thanks to the Marvel movies. Thank you, Disney. We appreciate that literacy you're giving to the world. Loki's the trickster god, right? He's real sneaky. Isn't there something in... Oh, shoot. I wish I remembered more from my school days. I know there was a specific Native American tribe, because of course, there are different types of mythologies and creation stories of different cultures and things like that. And there is a certain North American tribe who, essentially a lot of the common North American animals were all seen to have, or to represent, like a big spirit, or accompanying spirit or concept. And I think usually I think it was the wolves who were sneaky. I think they were the sneaky ones, or maybe the foxes, right? Am I remembering? Is that something at all? Am I remembering that correctly? I really don't remember, but I remember something about that, and I think that's kind of it's kind of interesting. So I think of it, this food demon that has Bob under its thumb. I think they're actually kind of positive in a way, or just kind of goofing around. They don't have horrible intentions. They don't want to ruin his life or anything. Although, in the fan theory sense, you could definitely make that case given like his typically bad luck, or just how he misses out on repeated opportunities for getting large sums of money, which is something we talked about, I think, on last week's stream, or maybe the week before. But so there's a case for that, but I think it's more fun to just think of this food spirit as as a fun guy, someone that you still want to hang out with, even though he's like way too into Pranked, like the television show that I think is... Are they bringing that back in some capacity? I don't know why they would, but... Well, it's a recognizable brand, so why not bring it back, right? But anyway, so that's my spiel on that non-existent fan theory that, well, it exists now. It's real now that I've just talked all about it. Feel free to spread that around. I'm sure other Bob's Burgers fan will appreciate that, me plugging that lifeblood into the series, for sure. And I had something else about... Oh, yeah. And just to wrap that all up, and I hope this doesn't spoil our insert burger puns future episode on the episode I was just talking about at the beginning, which is whatever it's called. It's where they're looking for Whorfie, and Bob is trying to watch a masterclass online hokey video thing. And but I'm just going to go ahead and talk about one of my favorite parts of that episode, which was towards the very end when Bob has his little like epiphany, and he finally understands like the true meaning of food, or whatever they call it in the episode. And most surprising and most fun for me was that they gave him a little... I'm going to pause this while I finish talking about this. Really need to concentrate. But yeah, he has his little epiphany, and there's a really fun little, 30-second or maybe less animated sequence that's really creative and fun and sort of abstract, where Bob is kind of seeing himself as different types of food and weird, divisions of how everything is one. And it's a very kind of hippie-minded thing. It's great. And I love that little sequence. But in the context of our delightful little fan theory that I've been pitching to you all, I think we could see that little sequence as sort of the culmination of this, and Bob becoming re-aware. Is that a phrase? Re-aware of this, consistent possessed state that he's in, and why he has this particular connection with food, and why he makes them talk, as well as making inanimate objects talk around him. Yeah, that's like the high point. That's the peak. And that's where they're wrapping up that story. Which, this is really some 4D chess. Just wait for this. If you've been listening to the podcast for a little while now, you will know that both Shay and myself had this kind of running theory that was a bit of a goof, but I think there's some kind of merit to it. This idea that what if this season, which I believe is season 10, is the final season and they just haven't told us yet. If that's the case, then isn't that perfect that they wrapped up this little almost hidden subplot between Bob and all the food of the world, which is in reality a connection with the food god or food spirit itself. Is there a food spirit in any culture of the world? That is something that I would be interested to learn more about. Something that that represents food itself. I guess it would probably go along with some kind of agrarian thing, some kind of agriculture god who determined the quality of the crops that year and all that stuff. I know that was a big thing for a lot of early cultures, right? It was just the food they were growing because that determined whether they were going to die or not. How did we get here? We are talking about the Tigris and the Euphrates. Is that what the rivers are called? But this is what we get. This is the solo stream, and this is all just unprepared, fresh content coming straight. Wow, I try to manage to do anything useful in Stardew Valley, which is becoming less and less likely. I don't know why I haven't cleaned this area up all season long, but it's starting to look much better now. Although it is 6:10 p.m. in game already. What time? Oh, it's 6:16 in real life right now. And all those S's just sound wonderful on the microphone. I love it. I love it. Do I need a hat? I guess it would be fun to buy a hat for the stream, wouldn't it? And they're not that expensive. What do you think? I think I already have the trucker hat. I think I have the sou'wester. I have that. Watermelon band. What does that mean? I think it has to be the cowgirl hat. Look at how much fun that is. Mouse ears, whatever. I'll look like a Redwall character. Actually, just for that. Just in case I want that later on. Cowgirl hat. Beautiful. Let's pop these on. Let's pop them on and see what we got. Oh, I like it already. Wow, what a statement piece. That's a conversation starter right there. Wow, I'm very happy with that choice. I do want to see the mouse ears very quickly because I don't think I'll keep them on for too long, but let's take a look anyway, just as a point of comparison. I don't think that's a great look. Especially from here, it almost doesn't look like a human head with the hairstyle that I've chosen, which is just like a mohawk. It just kind of looks like, I don't know, we're seeing a bracelet from above, and it's just, I'm switching back to the cowboy hat. Sorry, cowgirl hat. That's better. Is there anything down here worth finding? It is getting late, isn't it? There's that bear. I never remember am I supposed to do something with the bear? Oh, he wants a spice bear. Oh, I have one. Ooh. Do I get something now? Oh, okay. I don't know if I have any cookies, and I don't remember if I can even bake them in my kitchen. Oh boy, that's gonna be this bear guy. I can't remember the last time I saw him. Now, granted, it has been months and months since I actually played the game. Okay, well, that's that. Do I have anything else that I need to sell now that it's 9 p.m.? Not really. I've got a couple of seeds that I'll plant real quick, because I saw some open spots up here somewhere. Yeah, let's do that just while it's close in mind. I'll sell that artifact as well. Oops, nope. I remember the controls. I remember it all. Okay, Sweet pea, don't need that right now. Clay, I'll hold on to just in case. Cool. And that's the day. That is the game day right there. Not very long, is it? What, like 15 minutes? Something like that? Guess Emily's not in bed yet. I'll just gonna hit the hay, so to speak. Yeah, that diamond gives your daily profits a nice boost, doesn't it? That's not bad. 16,000 for a day. That's okay. We didn't have a lot of crops that day, so that's not too bad. Year 4, yeah, it's year 4 in the game, so it has been quite a while on this farm. Kind of itching to start a new one. Will I do that today? Probably not. Probably not today. And hey, Emily, what's up? Cool. I mean, I have sprinklers to water the plants, but that's okay. You know, she's helping out. I appreciate that. I am disappointed by just one thing, I suppose, of our marriage here in the game. Is just that I think before, you know, every character in town has like one big defining trait, pretty much throughout the whole game, but especially before you actually marry them. And Emily's was that she was kind of a new agey lady, and she was big into textiles and sewing stuff, you know, and all that kind of things, sort of crafty goods and activities. And ever since we've been married, wow, really opening up to you guys about my in-game marriage. I apologize for that, but she hasn't really, I don't remember once since then that she's like made something, you know, like a cool quilt or I guess she did make me clothes once, and I think the joke is that they're really ugly, but if you wear them, you get all kinds of bonuses. So, you know, I thought that was actually kind of fun and clever, like, and I was also hoping that she would notice if you're not wearing them and be like, hey, do you want to talk about how you don't wear, you know, the special gift outfit I gave to you that made you look like a very flamboyant sultan, like a side character that got cut from Disney's Aladdin. But she didn't notice when I stopped wearing them, which was like a couple hours after I first got them, which I felt bad about. But, you know, what are the Junimos doing all the way up here? Is there something to harvest? There's nothing to harvest up here, right? What is that all about? Gotta make the mayonnaise here. Literally, I just have to toss these eggs into the thing. And already I am realizing the downsides of streaming Stardew Valley, just because it is by nature one of those games that's just incredibly repetitive, you know, and it's mostly chores. And while it can be very satisfying to do when you're playing the game, I am not so sure about how much people would enjoy watching someone else do virtual chores. But for now, this is what we're doing. We're sticking with it. Like I said, there's not a lot of other stuff I can put on in the background here, since I'm not having one of our usual conversations. And I can't show copyrighted music or video, unfortunately, because we could just watch a bunch of Bob's Burgers episodes together. But probably not right now. We could potentially do that in the future by, you know, coordinating when we start episodes and stuff. So, like, if you want to tune in and you want to watch 2 or 3 episodes with us, we'll all start at the same time, right? And then keep track of how far we are in the episodes, so that anyone who joins in can find the right time. Everyone just has to find their own way to actually watch the episode, is the thing. So, I don't know, for a stream I wanted something a little more visual, especially here when we're still kind of figuring it all out and stretching our legs a bit, finding our virtual footing. I'm just going to sell all these. I know I could make coffee, but... And, so this seems like an easy solution. Obviously, everybody streams games on Twitch, and everybody and their mom has already streamed Stardew Valley, but I figured it might be fun just to hop back in, especially since the previous plans for the stream kind of went south. So this is what we're doing. I might switch over to another random game that I happen to have on the PC a little bit later on, but for now, we're just going to go with this and sell basically everything as it is. Going to make a few more seeds so I can plant those in the greenhouse. There it is. Okay. Perfect. I'll wait for those. That's pretty fast, so I'll just do some laps while we're waiting for those to pop back out. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. I got this trophy for something. What is this for? What? Did I get that for farming? Is that what happened? I do not remember. It would be nice if it had like a little text box on a little plaque that I could read, you know, but I guess that's a bit too much to ask for. All that stuff's done already? Wow, we're really, oh man. We're making a decent amount of money here, aren't we? This is pretty fun. And actually one of the, you know, whether or not you've played this particular game before, I think it's kind of funny to share part of my experience with this game after playing it for, I don't know, you know, a few years at this point, I guess. But, you know, like a lot of life sim or farming sim kind of games, the ultimate point really is up to you, you know, and if you don't have any goals, the only real goal is just like to make as much money as possible so you can get some nice stuff. You know, it's all about fake materialism. And yeah, an interesting effect of playing this game a lot at a time, especially when you're first starting out and you're really hooked on it and you're playing it very frequently and for long stretches of time in one sitting, is that, I don't know, it kind of has this effect of like, you know what, I would also enjoy getting out there and making money in real life. Like, oh, look at how much oh, I didn't want to do that. Look at all the progress I've made here, you know, let's keep it going. Like this, if it's so easy to make money in the game, surely it will be, you know, just as easy to go out and make money in the human world. And you know, I'm not going to say that it's especially tough to make money out there and stuff, but it is a bit different. And that enthusiasm sort of fades, you know, as you realize, like, no, actually, it's a bit easier to just stick to the game world and have fun here, you know, and live out this very particular fantasy of owning a farm on my computer as opposed to trying to do it. I wouldn't mind living on a farm in real life, I'll say that. However, running one and doing the work that is required to keep it running and make money off of it is a whole different story, kiddo. And I actually have a relative, a somewhat close relative, who does own a farm, and it's not necessarily a full-on working farm, you know, it's not like a crazy professional chicken farm or like those places are very busy. But, you know, plenty of livestock, plenty of cattle, and I think he's got a few goats and other things like that. And he'll grow, you know, sometimes just wheat and hay and things like that. And even that, which would be maybe considered almost a casual farm in a way, is very difficult. You know, there's a lot of work that goes into all of those different things, and a lot of money even just to get set up. So if anybody's having like Green Acres dreams out there, it's worth taking a second look at what that life is really like and what you can expect. Green Acres was a very old television show, I guess I should mention. I don't know if anyone even remembers, especially people my age. I don't think a lot of people my age really know about that show, but it was I assume it had to have been a network show, because there were only networks back then. And city guy wanted to up and leave the city and live on a farm and learn how to run it, but he's bad at it. It's kind of like the Schitt's Creek plot, but different. I don't know. And I always remembered that the lady who played the wife on that show, who's like very, high society and very fancy, and she's not crazy about living on a farm, is that she was played by the same actor who voiced the mom in the famous Disney movie The Aristocats. I'm sorry that I don't know her name, but I don't. I'm pretty sure she's French. And she was in The Aristocats, she was in Green Acres, and I don't know anything else about her career. But I loved Aristocats growing up. Let me tell you that. That was definitely a family favorite for a very long time. Even though, favorite movies when you're a kid, especially Disney movies, they just become favorites just through sheer watch time. If there's one that you want to see over and over and over and over again, then it just becomes a favorite, regardless of whether you think it's very good. It just becomes comforting in a way, so you watch it all the time. What were because especially I don't know, Lion King was definitely a repeated watch big time when I was 6 or 7, or with Aladdin pulled ahead from the rest very quickly. I don't think I even saw Beauty and the Beast until years later, until I was 12 or something, maybe. I don't know. But it's just whatever movies you happen to have on VHS, those were your favorites, regardless of what they happen to be. In fact, trying to remember. Let's all take a moment and try to remember what our very first movie in the theater was, because I don't remember, which I know because I've thought about this a lot before, pretty recently, and for the life of me, I cannot remember even any of the first 5 movies I probably saw in the theater. It's very tricky, because even something like Toy Story, the first one, I was I don't know, maybe 4 at the time. And I remember the first time I watched it, but it wasn't in the theater. It was just at home because we had, bought the VHS. So that's what we happened to have on hand. I don't think any of us saw that one in the theater. I'm pretty sure I saw Toy Story 2 in the theater. But what year was that movie released? I may even, let me see if I can search for it while also playing a game and also streaming. Not that I'm doing anything especially important in the game. Toy Story 2. Let's see what we get. It was released in 1999. Okay, so I would have been 6 or 7 when that movie came out, and I definitely saw that one in the theater. So that's a starting point. That's something. So by that age, I had definitely seen something and remembered seeing something in the theater. So that's a good kind of milestone for that sort of thing, I need more room for these. Wow, really? The goal is to have the entire greenhouse be ancient fruits. So I'm slowly, I think that was 1, and I just axed it. That's not good because it takes a whole season to grow. Oh, well, there's a lot more where that came from. Anyway, that was a long ramble about kids' movies and Disney movies in particular, which I've been thinking about quite a lot lately for very different reasons. I really like watching movies in general, and lately I've been trying to work on kind of a, analysis thing of kids' animation over the last couple decades and how it's changed and all that kind of stuff. So, in particular, over the last week or so, I've been thinking about all this stuff quite a bit, and obviously a lot of the Disney Renaissance stuff has been talked to death already. But I don't know. It's still very interesting. In particular, thinking about the early Pixar days is kind of interesting. It was just such a different time for movies in general, and especially CG. My goodness. This is sort of related to Bob's Burgers, so I'm going to keep talking about animated stuff. I should go to bed too in the game. I am not going to fall asleep on the stream. That wouldn't be My manners are slightly better than that. Okay, so they've been talked to death. CG, yeah. In particular, I was listening to a Mark Kermode. What do you call it? One of his reviews. I think it was his review of. It was his review for Onward, actually, the most recent major Pixar feature-length film, which coincidentally I was not crazy about when I did end up seeing it, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, in his review, he's a movie critic for the BBC. If you're not aware, and he's all right. I agree with him most of the time. He was talking about Onward and wrapping it up at the same time with like looking back at the the very early days of Pixar, and more specifically the very early days of CGI. And he described seeing the first Toy Story movie in the theater for the very first time, and how his reaction was like, the experience was borderline a psychedelic experience, because no one had done, I don't know if it was the first feature-length CG animated movie. I know that's like a fun fact that other people know, but I forget. Anyway, for a lot of people, this was the first time they were going to see something in a fully CG world, in the movie theater. And obviously the other huge game changer for Pixar as a studio was that they realized very early on, they were definitely in touch with that technology behind CG, and they knew what they were doing. And philosophically, their approach was really interesting, because they recognized that if they were going to try to create photorealistic human being characters to serve as the leads of their movies, that they would very quickly just tumble straight to the bottom of the uncanny valley, and that it would look awful and freak people out, and that it just wouldn't work. And for even 10 years after Pixar started making stuff, other studios were still trying to do that kind of thing and just have like, human somewhat photorealistic human lead characters, and it still looks bad today. It still looks bad for the most part, I think. So adding to that experience of seeing a CG movie that's feature length for the first time in the theater, it's like whoa, crazy. But also, yeah, all the character designs are simple and based on really simple geometric 3D shapes. That's why they picked toys instead of whatever else, instead of just having it be about Andy and his family. It just works so much better for the medium, and especially at the time, it was way more doable, and they wouldn't have to spend gobs and gobs of time designing the character models. They could focus on other elements and story and get the production moving along a little bit faster. I'm sure someone has written about all this stuff. I'm kind of paraphrasing, but whatever. Anyway, Pixar stuff at the time was very interesting. Yeah, as a lot of us were, being kids for that whole stretch was pretty fantastic. Kind of the golden age of the Pixar stuff was really interesting and exciting. And it was such a long time before the movies started to get bad. And that's great. It's not great that they took a nosedive eventually, but they had a really nice, good long run, and they still make interesting movies sometimes. In fact, I remember being in high school, and Toy Story 3 had just come out, or I think it had just been announced, and everybody was immediately kind of skeptical, like, why do they need, because it had been a long time, since, more than 10 years since Toy Story 2, right? Ish. About 10 years, a little less. So everybody was like, oh, it's going to be so bad, and it's going to be awful, and no thanks, I don't want to see it. But I very specifically remember one conversation I had with a friend of mine in newspaper class, because we ran the newspaper. Pretty cool, I know. And her response to all the, cynicism and saying like, oh, it's going to be so bad, her response was just, when was the last time Pixar made a bad movie? And it immediately shut everybody up, because like at that point, nope, it had not happened. They had done nothing but just hit stuff out of the park. I think at that time Ratatouille was still one of their most recent movies. Just like incredible stuff every single time, and even branching out into new directors because, Brad Bird wasn't technically part of the original Pixar founding lineup, but after The Incredibles and stuff, I was like, okay, no, cool, yeah, he can hang with us and he can direct a bunch of our future movies. So anyway, big deal. It sure was at the time. I think everybody kind of agrees that Cars is the start of the degradation of the Pixar empire, right? Around Cars. I guess someone, if they're really stretching, would probably say Cars 2 is when everything got bad. But Cars 2 is so bad in reality that it almost feels like it doesn't even count. It kind of feels like it wasn't made by a movie studio. It kind of feels like, maybe a DreamWorks spoof that got mixed up or sent in the mail as a prank, and then Pixar was like, no, we don't have anything right now, so we're just gonna make it. We're just gonna distribute it and say this is the new Pixar movie. So I won't go as far as saying Cars 2 is the decline. That's just rock bottom, essentially. But prior to that, wowzers bowsers, they did an excellent job putting stuff together. Why not talk about Onward too? If you're worried about spoilers for the movie Onward from Pixar, I guess plug your ears or just kind of be cool with it. I feel like talking about Onward for a little bit. So that's what I'm going to do. Stars Chris Pratt and Tom Holland, I think is his name. He plays the Spider-Man in some of the Cape movies, right? And that's it. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is their mom, and I guess no one plays the dad. That's a spoiler right there. We never actually hear his voice as far as... Oh, no, we do hear his voice on the tape recording. I don't know who plays the dad. Anyway, two brothers go on an adventure of self-discovery and learning to reconnect after they've kind of grown a bit older and grown apart slightly. And it's fine. The movie is fine. That's the bulk. Those are the bulk of my thoughts. That movie. It has all the completely expected story points that we see in any Pixar movie nowadays. And I don't know, I mean, I get it. It's a movie made for kids, but at the same time, like, a lot of the plot stuff just felt really predictable. And once I realized that the story was going to be about the brothers sort of getting along better after falling away from their relationship or whatever you want to call it, I got disappointed that was it, that was going to be the movie, and I think a lot of people have experienced that in some movie. But I keep replacing all these signs by accident. That's no good. I think a lot of people have experienced that feeling at some time or another when they're watching a movie, and it just feels like once you realize the real premise of the movie and what's going to take up the bulk of the runtime, that if you don't like that idea, it's just like an immediate, huge letdown. And it just feels like, oh, great, like, cool. I can't wait to see how the rest of this one turns out. And, with layers and layers of sarcasm, of course. And that's kind of how I felt with this one. It just, oh, hello, airplane. Or a helicopter, maybe? Nah, it's an airplane. I know my low-flying airplanes in the Los Angeles sky space, and that's one of them right there. Onward felt really mediocre, and I was disappointed. I was hoping for something really cool and fresh and original and neat, and that's not what that movie is, which is, whatever. It's fine. I've learned to tamper my expectations from Pixar in general, but it really was just kind of a drag. Do I not have the recipe for cookies? I feel like I should definitely already have the recipe for cookies. And I don't feel like looking it up. That's a tortilla, not a cookie. Oh, I think that's it, but I don't have it yet. I don't want to check the wiki just to... Oh, man, so what am I going to give that bear? Where else can I get cookies? Oh, shoot. That's disappointing. I apologize. I should have had the foresight to dig into the wiki to find where I can get some cookies for that bear, because I think he's going to give me something neat. And I just don't get to know right now. Just going to hop into the mine very briefly and fight some stuff. I don't know. I really should be going to the one in the desert right now, but it's too far away and it costs money, and I don't need any of that. So I'm just going to grab all this, grab the fiber. Love that. Can't be killed by slimes anyway because of my special ring. Oh, that's not a slime, so I do have to kill that one. There we go. Look at all these mushrooms. This is great. These are actually kind of valuable. The purple mushroom is very valuable. I love that. Perfect. Perfect. Here's a brief discussion we can have about Bob's Burgers. This is relevant for sure. And it's just that when Bob's Burgers first came out, which is what, 2010, 2011-ish, right? It was the hot new thing on the scene, and it joined Fox's famous animation domination block of programming. Whatever night they air. Is it just Sunday? I don't know. And it really was fresh at the time. I know for me, at least, it has become increasingly difficult to remember that. That, like, at one time, Bob's Burgers felt really new and kind of original. And had a unique sense of humor, especially when we stacked it up against, like at the time, Zombie Simpsons was happening and Family Guy had already been going for a good long while. And both of those shows have their own sense of humor, and I'm not going to say that either of them is bad, but they're very different. And there wasn't a lot out there that felt like Bob's Burgers felt, especially in that sense of humor. We could kind of say maybe some of the Adult Swim stuff that was more accessible and not so wacky and filled with stoner comedy. So at the time, it was like, oh, cool, fun new show, and like I like these characters, and they have some great voice actors, and this is a lot of fun. And the show is still fun, being very positive. It's still a good time, and it's funny, and the writing is still very solid, and all that kind of stuff. But it has been around for 10 years now, and it can't always feel like the cool new thing. And I don't think it does anymore. And it's okay. That doesn't mean it's going down the tubes or anything like that. But it does make me wonder what the next big one is going to be, if there is going to be another big one. Because there's a lot of factors here, obviously. And... Getting rid of the stone. Yeah, okay. I have way too much stuff here. I don't know. 2D animation obviously has been on the decline for a long time, not in terms of quality necessarily, but just frequency, and studios seeing it as a viable option for stuff they're going to make that's actually kind of affordable to make. And it's getting to that point where, like, we're certainly not getting a lot of new 2D animated shows. I think the bulk of those that I've actually seen that fall into that category are just direct-to-streaming service stuff. Again, fine, and I'm not going to knock those shows, especially I haven't watched a lot of them. I did watch some of Big Mouth, unfortunately, so I guess I am knocking that one. But I don't know. There hasn't been a lot, and especially on network television, where for the past 20 to 30 years, 2D animation has had like a really strong foothold just because of the biggest names. The Simpsons and Family Guy and all that stuff are apparently just going to run for all of time. And it's completely possible that, at least for network television, Bob's Burgers was the last big one, where we got something that felt new and fresh, but also had a huge amount of mainstream appeal. I think, yeah, I think we're kind of towards the back end of this era in American television, let's call it. And that doesn't mean that 2D animation is done for sure. Obviously, Disney stopped doing it a long time ago. What, Princess and the Frog, I think, was the last one. And DreamWorks isn't going to do 2D animation. I guess they never really did. So, I don't know. I won't say I'm worried. At the same time, maybe this is the beginning of a new wave of indie animated stuff. You know, maybe we're, especially with all the different streaming services out there right now that there's roughly 2032 or something like that, it is an opportunity for people to make stuff with a minimum of studio or network or company involvement of whatever kind. People can just kind of make stuff and it's fine. You know, they don't have to worry about television ratings or censorship because it's just going on the internet. So the streaming services have their own restrictions to manage that stuff. So, and that's all it is. I'm not trying to be cynical about it, and I don't think, I'm convinced that we're never going to get a cool new animated big TV show. But at the same time, I really am just curious more than anything else. I'm curious to see whether it's possible for those kinds of shows to get made right now, and if they would be able to find their audience. I guess the biggest one is really that's sort of recent would just be Rick and Morty, right? That's got to be it. Yeah, I think that's probably the most recent. So if anything, that would be the last big one. But that was only what, 5-ish years ago, 5-6 years ago. Actually, you know what? Let me hop out here. I'll start up on another game just real quick, and then I probably won't stay on way too long past 7. But whatever. Let's open up Terraria just for kicks. So, like I said, mostly just curious to see what happens with all that stuff. And it's okay. I'm not one of these people who thinks that like 2D animation is the only valid form of animation just in general, and that CG is somehow inherently lesser or requires less artistic prowess. I don't think that's true at all. But at the same time, yeah, we're not seeing a lot of new 2D animated stuff, whether it is on TV or in movies. Even indie movies don't get there a whole lot. So it's, I don't know, that's almost a feather in Bob's Burgers' cap in a way. This idea that they really did have an original vision. Obviously, it borrowed elements from Lauren Bouchard's earlier work, in particular the series Home Movies, which he did for Adult Swim. But that stuff fades over time, and we all just kind of get used to it. Maybe that's been the trajectory. Maybe that has been the trajectory with Bob's Burgers just over the last 10 years. Maybe it's not so much that the writing has changed or that it feels like it's treading water, but more just that it's not, necessarily new anymore. It's just Bob's Burgers, and we know it inside out at this point. We know exactly what the characters would do in any given situation, and which, by the way, is great writing. It's good to have really solid character stuff going on. I always think of The Office with that, like, exactly what every character is going to do in any given situation, and that's fantastic. That's a very good thing. But yeah, there's no guarantee that, especially young aspiring animators today, there's no guarantee that they even have an interest in doing a big 2D animated show. I don't know. I don't know any of them personally, so I can't really say. But but yeah, and yes, Bob's Burgers still is a little bit fresh, and they still have kind of something to say. Not that they've ever been super big on messaging or trying to ram morals down your throat. That's not really their MO. But just the same, you still do pick up on certain themes of family and well, a lot of it is family. This is running really slowly, so I'm going to back out. Themes of family and, just the embarrassing little details of being a human person are definitely a big part of the show as well. That's been enough. I think those really simple themes have been enough to carry the show and give it that sense of heart or sentimentality that a lot of people connect with. I would be very interested to see whether other shows will ever be able to do that. Who knows? And now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, there has been other kind of new 2D. BoJack Horseman obviously is, was a good 6 years, but does this work? Oh, I have to readjust something on the stream here. Just a second. OBS, can you? Hey, OBS. Oh no. No, I want to. Sorry, Zoo Tycoon. I was attempting to open up Zoo Tycoon, but I need to get this worked out first. Can you stop, program? Or not? You know what? I might just keep it at an hour and end up shortly after 7 o'clock here. Yeah, you know what? Let's go with that. I apologize, it's a little bit shorter than usual. If you happen to tune in, we really appreciate it. As I explained at the very start of the stream / video, my co-host was unable to join me today. So we were planning on doing a more traditional insert burger pun episode that we've all come to know and love so much. So we will save that for later. We will either record that on our free time really soon and just put it up, or we could make it our stream next Wednesday. So, so sorry that we couldn't do something like that. That was super Bob's Burger centric. But, hopefully we still got to do a few fun things here and there. And I don't know, as you might be able to tell, I do enjoy just kind of talking and having my coffee. I didn't even finish this coffee. Oh my goodness. That is atypical. And now someone's texting my phone. And it's kind of a fun, especially here in quarantine, it's a fun little brain exercise to see if you can just talk almost nonstop for roughly 60 minutes to a microphone. And who knows how many people out in inner space, if any. And I think so far, I've done okay. So let's see. Do I have anything else to say before we get past 7 o'clock here? Not really. I mean, we enjoy interacting with folks online about the podcast. If you feel like emailing us, you can get in touch at insertburgerpun@gmail.com. Just send us something there. We'd be happy to check it out, as long as it's not horrible or offensive. And we used to be a weekly show in the before 4 times, when it was possible to, be out in the world and live a somewhat normal life. And we'll get back to that point very soon. But for now, we're trying to do these weekly streams Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific time. That's where I live, Pacific time zone. And obviously still getting our handle on doing streaming. Obviously, you can tell I don't even have any soundproofing stuff in here, so you can hear the room really well. that's something that I would like to fix up. And that's about it. So yeah, if you have, I don't know, if you have any ideas about things that you think would be fun on the stream, let us know. I kind of like doing the game stuff, even though I know it's not a gaming podcast or anything like that, but it's an easy way where we have something going in the background while we can still talk about something completely unrelated. So I know last week we did kind of a fun little drinking game of where we were playing through one of the old Mario Party games from the N64. I think that was a pretty good time. And it wasn't super high maintenance because we weren't actively playing the game. And so who knows? We would like to do a few more streams where it is just a traditional episode, and we do commentary of the episode, and then we talk about it and break it down a little bit and make a joke here or there about what happened and our predictions for the rest of the season and upcoming things. Especially, we've been talking about the Bob's Burgers movie a lot, and we're going to only be getting more and more news about that as the months drag on here. So it's a safe bet that we'll be talking a lot more about that, especially after it actually comes out. What else we got? End of May, I think, is when Lauren Bouchard's new show. Why didn't I think of that when I was trying to think of new 2D animated stuff? Central Park comes out at the end of May, I believe, and directly to Apple TV Plus. So I don't know how we'll watch it, but we'll watch it and we'll talk about it. And who knows? Maybe that is the fresh new voice. You know, maybe it's from the same guy, and this combination and this new cast and the new writers will have a really unique perspective on stories that they want to tell. We'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about the Bob's Burgers movie and all kinds of other things, as well as plenty of topics that are not at all related to Bob's Burgers, as is our tradition. So that's just about it. Bit of a shorter stream, but if you did stop by at all, thank you again. I would personally like to say thanks, and that I appreciate it. Makes me feel better that I'm not just talking to a completely empty void here. So that's about it. And I'll go ahead and post this to YouTube in case anybody wants to have some more background entertainment for when they're falling asleep, I suppose. And that's all. Have a good one. Take care, and good night.